Welcome back, everyone. I hope your week has been good, and I'm excited to bring you our next class today. This week we've been focusing on the core of the body, and so I thought I would create this video class for you so you can practice it throughout the weekend, and of course come back to it over and over again whenever you like. So before we start our practice, I'd like to just take a moment to remind ourselves of one of the gifts of yoga. And for me, one of the things that I just love so much about this practice is the fact that it always brings me back to my truth. And I know right now we have so much going on in our outer world. We have so many different things thrown at us all the time, and it can be overwhelming. You know, you're watching the news, you're listening to all these different things, and it's really intense. It's intense on the mind, it's intense on the emotions and the nervous system, and then you kind of don't know whether you're coming or going. And all your attention is just on the outside. So yoga brings us back into ourselves, and it helps us to reset and refocus on our priorities and what is true for us. And that is, to me, the most empowering thing. And when all that kind of busyness of my mind starts to fall away, when I am reminded of my truth and what feels right for me in this moment. And that becomes my resting place, my refuge. So just starting off our practice today with a seated meditation and reminding ourselves of that before we begin to move. So I invite you to close your eyes and come to a comfortable seat, sitting up on whatever you have there. Maybe it's a meditation cushion, maybe it's a blanket. So whatever you have available, make sure you do sit on something so that you can sit properly with your spine in good alignment rather than kind of slumping or rounding. So place your hands gently on your thighs and let your eyes close. Now, with the eyes closed, begin to feel your attention shifting from this outer view, focusing on everything outside of ourselves. And instead, let it begin to shift, to refocus to your inner view, the inner world. And as you bring your attention to your inner world, start with the sensations of your body. Just notice how your body is sitting right now. Can you ground the top of the thighs down a little bit more into whatever you're sitting on? And maybe lift up a little bit more through your spine, gently drawing the shoulders back. Now, I like to think of my body as a container. And that's a really helpful perspective when we do core work. Because when we think of our body as a container, what we're aiming to do is contain all the life force within our body, within the framework of the body. Strengthening the container of the body so that that life force doesn't spill out. When the life force is spilling out or leaking out, That's how we tend to injure ourselves. We overdo or we're over pushing without the true support of our core. So as you sit here, think of your body or feel your body as a container. You have the floor of the container, the pelvic floor. You have the front and the back and both sides of the container. And what we'll be practicing here is the specific actions in this part of the body to strengthen the core and maintain the life force within the body. Now, keeping some part of your attention on your body now. Now bring the attention to the breath. And without trying to change your breath in any way, just start by noticing your natural breath. What does the natural breath feel like in this moment? Just very softly breathing through your nose. And one thing that's going to bring us very directly to the truth of who we are, or the truth of where we are in this moment, is to bring the attention to the natural breath. Because our breath is directly connected to our unconscious mind. So when the mind is busy, when it's moving all over the place and you bring your attention to your breath, what you're most likely going to notice is that the breath is very jagged, right? It's kind of all over the place. Just like the mind, so it's reflecting the mind. But as you begin to concentrate just on the natural breath, then something begins to shift. And as the mind becomes more concentrated, as we talked about last week in class, then the breath naturally begins to slow down. And we gradually find ourselves in a calmer place. Might not happen right away, it takes time. Some days is easier than others. So be easy on yourself, be patient. And just watch your breath. Just get used to observing your breath. Without judgment. Now draw your hands together at your heart. Lift the heart and gently bow your head down. And lift your head. Release the hands and softly open your eyes. Okay, so before we start to practice, make sure you have 2 blocks and a blanket. And then you're going to come down onto your mat. Okay, so pause the video if you need to, set up those things, and then we'll begin again once you've got everything. So now as we come down onto the mat, we're going to start laying on the back. Clear a space so that when you're on your back, you have enough space to open both arms out to the side. And then you're going to take your legs across from side to side. So make sure you have space. There's nothing in your way for that, okay? And then you're going to lay on your back and place the block between the top of your inner thighs. So it's going to go this way, all the way to the top of your inner thighs. Then open the arms out and start with the palms of your hands turned up. Spreading the fingers, and then press your shoulders down into the mat. And then turn the palms back down so you really have an anchor with your hands and your shoulders. Now pause here with the knees bent and squeeze the block with your inner thighs. So that's the first thing we do in order to begin to access our deeper core muscles. And remember, today we're going to be really trying to experience our body as a container and learning how to strengthen the container, the bottom of the container, the back, the front, and both sides. So now you're going to pick up your hips and move your hips over towards the right side of the mat. Now pick up your knees and lift your shins so your shins are parallel to the floor, and then squeeze the block with your inner thighs. Now those legs are going to go across toward the left, slowly, and you're going to pause before you actually put your legs down. So keep them hovering, and what you're aiming for here is to begin to stack your right hip on top of your left hip. Now keep your head straight and try to turn your chest and your belly a little bit more toward the right, but not the head. Keep the head nice and straight. And then squeezing that block, inhale and lift your legs back up. Put your feet down and shift your hips over to the left. Lift your legs, squeeze the block, and do the same thing to the other side. So legs to the right. Squeeze the block, keep your head straight, and turn your belly and your chest to the left. So this pose, the translation of it is actually belly roll. The Sanskrit name is Jatara Parivartanasana, and that translates as belly roll. So we're rolling our belly towards the opposite arm, right, away from the legs. Squeeze the block and lift the legs back up. Shift again, feet down, hips to the right, legs to the left. Squeezing the block the whole time, and knowing that, why do we have the block there, right? The reason we have the block there is because that is the first action we engage when we start to engage the core muscles. That hugging in or hugging the midline. Squeeze the block, inhale, lift the legs back up, shift again, hips to the left, legs to the right. So we use props in yoga to teach the body specific actions, right? They're not there as a crutch. They're there to teach the body or to help us find better alignment. So squeezing the block, inhale, lift up. Let's do a few more like this. Feet down, hips to the right, legs to the left. Maybe that right hip now can stack a little bit more on top of the left. Can you roll your belly a bit more to the right? Turn your chest a bit more to the right, keeping your head straight. Now inhale, squeeze the block and lift up. Again, hips to the left, legs to the right. Belly roll to the left. Can you stack the left hip a little more on top of the right? Hovering the legs just above the floor. Squeezing the block, inhale, lift. Let's do one more to each side here. So feet down, hips to the right, legs to the left. Now, you're keeping your head straight, but see if you can add in this little action of actually gently pressing the back of the skull into the mat. So you're using this to stabilize and strengthen your neck. Inhale, lift. One more, hips to the left, legs to the right. I love this pose at the beginning of the practice because it's a great way to start to loosen up the hips and the lower back area while strengthening the core. So now squeezing that block, lift your legs back up. All right, now bring your feet down and we're going to keep the block between the inner thighs, so make sure it's still in a good position, and then rest your arms down by your sides this time. Okay, now you're going to squeeze the block and we're going to do pelvic tilts. So with the inner thighs engaged, start to push the block down towards the mat and arch your lower back away from the ground. Then go the other way, squeezing the block, tuck your tailbone and round your back. Now just continue going back and forth like this at your own pace. Doesn't have to be exactly on my words. The most important thing I want you to feel with this, though, is that your legs are doing the work, not the pelvis on its own. So keeping the thighs hugging the block and then using that strength to push the block down to arch the back. Then as you tuck your tailbone, you're pulling the block towards your belly to round your back. If we were to move the pelvis without the engagement or without the support of the legs, it actually becomes quite an unstable, unsafe movement on the spine. So our legs are there to support the spine. And when they're strong and engaged, that's what they do. But when they're not, then it puts a lot of stress on the back. I like to think of my core as everything from the waist down, all the way down to the feet. So everything works together. Okay, now, next time you are pushing that block down, so now you have a big arch underneath your lower back. Keep squeezing the block, don't let that go. And then I want you to put the heels of your hands on the top of your thighs. And you're going to push that block down, and with your hands, push your thighs towards your heels. Now this is that action we looked at in the last practice of grounding the thigh bones. So ground your thighs towards your hamstrings. Keep pushing the block down. But now you're going to start to go towards tucking your tailbone, but you're not going to flatten your lower back. You're just going to pause when you feel like your pelvis has arrived in the middle. We call this neutral pelvis. So neutral pelvis is neither overarched or flat, right? We're not looking to flatten our lumbar curve. We want to maintain a small arch there. Now, once you have that, once you feel that, squeezing the block, we'll keep the block for this next one as well, and then we're going to slowly lift up the feet and bring the knees in over the hips. Don't let go of that block, keep squeezing it, and then slowly, lightly touch the mat with your feet and lift back up. Now keep doing this at your own pace without moving the pelvis, so it doesn't rock back or forth now. It's not moving sideways. It's almost feels like it's locked in its position. And once you start to find that, then you begin to access the deeper core muscles. But if the pelvis is moving all over the place, then that gets lost. So this little very simple movement, simple exercise. When my teacher, Maritza, she taught me this. I remember this was the one that really changed everything for me. When I learned this action, this little simple core exercise, I'd never felt it like this before. So it's always one that I come back to over and over again, because it's very simple but very clear at the same time. Last few rounds like this, up and down. And you always can feel free to just watch and then do it again by yourself, rather than just doing it along with me. Okay, now we're going to bring the feet back down and take the block away, and we're going to use this and then add on to it. So now again, you're going to engage your inner thighs as if you had that block there, right? So we had the block all that time. So hopefully it's left a bit of an imprint, so you almost feel like it's still there. So hug in as if that block is still there and bring the pelvis back to neutral. That means there's a small curve in your lower back. Now, the next little action I want you to learn before we do the core exercise is to place your hands on the front ribs here. Now, these ribs here tend to poke out. And when they poke out, we have no power. We lose, we give away all of our power. And then we start crunching in the mid-back and overarching there. So with the hands on those front ribs, you're going to begin, as you exhale, to just very slowly, softly, press the ribs back down and in again. So those ribs begin to reintegrate back in towards the spine. And then you should feel the back ribs now coming closer to the mat or pressing down into the mat. Now, again, if you're thinking of your body as a container, notice how much that feels like it's containing the life force. Whereas when the ribs poke out, that's spilling the life force all over the place, right? So soften those ribs back in. Now, you can leave your hands on your ribs here for a moment just to feel this. Remember, pelvis is in neutral. We're going to lift up the legs and bring the shins parallel to the floor for the first one. So I'll let you decide if you want to keep your hands on your ribs for help or bring them by the sides. And now you're going to extend the right leg until it's hovering just above the mat without anything changing in your pelvis. So do you still have neutral pelvis? Are the front ribs still softening back towards your spine and the back ribs pressing down? Now inhale and lift that right leg back up and switch. Extend the left leg, hovering it just above the mat. Inhale and lift back up. Switching like this over and over again without changing anything in the pelvis. Remember that block between your thighs. Keep hugging in. Inhale, lift. Exhale, left. Lengthen your tailbone and push through your heels. Inhale, lift. Exhale, right leg. Keep the breath flowing. Keep your face and your neck relaxed. Inhale, lift. Let's do one more with the left leg. And lift it back up and rest your feet down. Take a couple of deep breaths here. Probably feels really good to take a nice deep breath after that. And then we'll add on one more thing. So you could repeat what we just did, or you could do it with straight legs. So neutral pelvis. Lift your legs either straight up in the air like this or bent knees again. Now lower your right leg so it's hovering above the mat. Try to lengthen your tailbone towards your heels, but without completely flattening the lumbar curve. Again, have slight curve there, slight arch. Inhale, lift the right leg up, extend the left leg down. Soften the front ribs in, Press the back ribs into the mat. Inhale, lift. And again, switch, lower the right. Inhale, lift, lower the left. Inner thighs hugging in. Inhale, lift, one more on each leg, lower the right. Inhale, lift, lower the left. Inhale, lift, and bring your feet down. This time, let's bring the soles of the feet together. Supta Baddha Konasana, let the knees open. Rest your hands on your belly. And take a few soft breaths into your belly. So a strong core, a strong foundation really can create this tremendous feeling of support and allows us to be reminded of our own inner strength, our own resilience. So bring your knees back together. All right, so next one. Now this time, as you exhale, you're going to lift up your head and shoulders, and you're going to draw your knees into your chest. So just a little note here, this is not an easy one to do while talking, so I'm going to do the best I can. All right, so inhale, exhale, knees into the chest, lift your upper body and hug your knees in, lift your shoulder blades off the mat. Keep hugging your inner thighs in, engaging your low abdominals. Grab the right shin with your hands and extend the left leg out. Now keep lifting your upper body up. Now see if you can reach for the foot. If you can't reach for the foot, just keep hold of the shin. Now pull that leg in towards your chest, like you're trying to massage your belly with your thigh. And then keep drawing the knee in, using your core muscles, and let go of the foot, reaching your fingertips forward. Lift up a little more, and then grab the foot and pull it in. Keep reaching through the left leg, thighs hugging in. Now extend the arms again. Take a full breath, belly drawing into your spine. And then exhale and release it, stretching the arms overhead. Nice big stretch on your belly. That feels so good to stretch afterwards. Take another inhale. Exhale at second side, knees into the chest. Now grab the left leg and extend the right leg. Keep lifting from the low belly. Try not to use your neck. Grab the foot, pull it in. Keep lifting from your core, inner thighs engaged. Reach your fingertips forward. Grab the foot again, pull it in. And extend. And release everything down. Stretch legs, stretch arms. We're going to do one more round of that. Bend the knees. Inhale. Exhale, hug both knees into your chest. Lift your shoulder blades up. Grab the right shin, extend the left leg. Grab the right foot, pull it in. Keep the knee in, extend the fingertips. Grab the foot again, pull it in. Extend the fingertips. And bring it down. Stretch, arms overhead. Bend your knees. One more time. Inhale. Exhale, knees into the chest. Grab the left shin, extend the right. Grab the foot, pull it in. Extend the fingertips. Grab the foot, pull it in. And extend. And bring it down. and stretch. Whew, felt that one. Bend the knees and just take a little moment to just do a quick, gentle belly massage here. And just pressing the fingertips in, just a little massage all around. Just starting to release any tension. All right, so we're going to come up to the hands and knees. So take your time, roll to the side, and then come on up. I put my little microphone back. All right. So hands and knees, just start in a neutral spine, and then we'll grab the block. And it'll go back between the inner thighs. Pause and simply squeeze the block here. Always that first action of hugging the midline. Now we're ready to do cat-cow. Push the block back behind you and arch your back. So again, just like we did when we were laying down, the legs are the driving force here. The pelvis is not moving independently of the legs. As you pull and push the block back and forward, the pelvis moves. One more round each way. Okay, now remove the block, put it off to the side. You're going to bring your knees all the way together and again go to neutral spine. So that includes the neck here. We want to make sure we're not letting the head just hang down. So press the back of your skull back and line up your neck with the rest of your spine. Now bring the pelvis to neutral and you're going to take your right leg, lift it up and extend it back behind you, pointing the right toes down towards the mat. Now as you exhale, that right knee is going to come in towards your chest. Push through your hands and draw your belly back towards your spine. Inhale and take it back behind you. Push the foot as if there's some resistance to push against. Again, exhale, knee to the nose. Push through your hands and really try to hollow your belly back towards your spine. Inhale, take it back. Again, one more. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, take it back. This time hold it there. Wrapping the right hip down, toes pointing down. Now again, think of your body as a container. Drawing in on all sides. Remember the action of the ribs. Draw the ribs back towards your spine. And then from there, lift your left arm and extend it forward. Lift your inner left shoulder up and lift your inner right thigh up. Keep the tailbone lengthening and the belly, ribs gently moving back towards your spine. Now, stay with this for another few breaths or bend the right knee and with your left hand, reach for the top of your right foot. Begin to push the right foot against your hand and up towards the sky. Press down through the right hand and open your chest. Now, even here as you go more toward a back bend direction, do you feel your core still there supporting you? Or have you allowed those ribs to just flare out? Now go back to straight leg, straight arm. Belly, ribs in. And then release everything down and take a little pause in child's pose between sides, stretching the arms forward. Nice full breath here, really letting go as you exhale. Second side. Hands and knees. Bring your knees all the way together and come to neutral spine, including the neck. Take your left leg, extend it back behind you. Left toes should be pointing straight down. So your hips, your pelvis is level. Now, as you exhale, draw that left knee into the nose. Push strongly through your hands and draw your belly back towards your ribs, towards your spine. So you're really rounding in your mid-back. And then inhale, extend the leg back. Again, exhale, knee to nose. Push through your hands. Draw your belly back towards your spine. Inhale and back. One more. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, take it back and hold it this time. You can have the right foot tucked or untucked, right? Just whatever feels better for you. Make sure you have padding under that knee if you need it. Now, from here, keeping the body drawing in on all sides, take the right arm and extend it forward. Lift your inner left thigh and your inner right shoulder. Now stay and just work here, or bend the back knee and with the right hand reach for the top of the foot. Begin to push the foot back and up into your hand, opening your chest. Gazing slightly forward and keeping some part of your attention on your core. Re-extend leg and arm. Exhale, bring it down. Child's pose. Take a little rest. Nice deep breath, softening and releasing as you exhale. Now this time you're going to come all the way up to downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So tuck your toes and come on up. Pedal out your feet. Maybe shift the hips a little from side to side. And then bending both knees nice and deeply. Lift your sit bones high in the sky. Ground the thigh bones back into the hamstrings and lift your armpits. And then move your chest back towards your thighs. Keep grounding the thighs back, press the ankles back and begin to work towards straightening the legs. Heels don't have to be down. Rather think about pressing them back and then lifting and spreading your toes. Now walk forward to your hands, top of your mat, Uttanasana. Fold over with your knees bent to begin with. Relax the weight of your head and your neck. And really bring your legs to life now. Spread your toes. Try to lift the arches of your feet up. Remember, everything from the waist down is your core. So it starts with the feet engaging, the toes spreading, the arches lifting. Then from there, it's like a ripple of energy from the feet up. The leg muscles start to wake up and come to life, hugging the muscles to the bones, drawing all the way up into the hips, up into the pelvis. Inhale, lift your chest halfway and lengthen. Bring your hands to your shins. Keep grounding the thighs back, bring your hands to your hips and feel your core engaged. So lengthen your tailbone and draw your ribs in. Now from that powerful core, inhale and stand up. Release the arms down, shake them out a little bit. Take a moment here. Standing in Tadasana, mountain pose at the top of your mat. Feet parallel to each other. Spread the toes and feel the arches lifting. All the way up into your legs, muscular engagement of your thighs, all the way up. Press the top of your thighs back and glide your tailbone down. Now bring your hands to the front ribs and use your hands to assist with this action of softening those ribs back in towards your spine, which in turn is going to create more of an expansion in the back. So it's a softening in the front and an expansion in the back. Now bring the arms by the sides and gently move your shoulders back without flaring your rib cage forward. Can you practice both things together? Glide your head back gently and lift the base of the skull. Now inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, lift the chest, hands to the shins, lengthen. Exhale, plank pose. Lower all the way down. Draw your shoulders back and rise up, cobra pose, Bhujangasana. Exhale, lower. And press back to downward facing dog. Take 3 breaths here, pressing the top of the thighs back into the hamstrings. Lifting and broadening your sit bones, and then keep pressing your thighs back, slowly going to straight legs. Spread the toes. One more breath. And then walk up to your hands. Hands go to the shins again. Lift and lengthen. Exhale and fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Hands to the hips. Pause at this stage and feel the thighs pressing back, the tailbone lengthening, belly, ribs drawing in towards your spine. Now you've got the container of your body nice and solid. Use that power and inhale to come on all the way up. Release your arms. We'll take one more Surya Namaskar. Inhale. Nice and slow. Exhale. Don't be in a rush to go anywhere. Take your time. Inhale. Lift the chest and lengthen. Hands to the shins. Exhale, plank pose. Lower all the way down. You can bring your knees down if you need to. Draw the shoulders back. Cobra pose. Exhale, lower. And push back to downward dog. Good. Always start with bent knees so you can work that main action of grounding your thigh bones first. Then work to straight legs. Lifting the sit bones up. Lifting the armpits up so you're not collapsing or trying to force your way into the pose with your arms. Bend the knees, step or jump to your hands. Inhale, hands to the shins, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep your arms out this time. Strong core as you come all the way up to stand. Exhale and release the arms. Good. All right, shake it out. And then you're going to take your 2 blocks. Let's start with them on the side of the mat here, okay? And we'll take a nice wide stance with the feet parallel. Now, just a little note here about when we're forward folding. Let's try to focus on it from the core. So I'm going to stand sideways here for a moment so you can see. Now, two things we usually tend to do here, and I actually do have a short video of this. If you go through my channel, you'll find it, but it's good to go over it again now. So, two ways of folding, right, which is very common. One, the first way is like this, where we're rounding in the back. You can see it really clearly, right? All I'm doing is bending from here. There's nothing happening in this part of my body. And then I lock my knees. So now I just get stuck here. The other way is to overarch, poke those ribs out, and come down like this, right? With no core strength and no support. And then we wonder why we hurt or tear the hamstring insertion. So what we want to do is find a balance between those two. So I bring my hands to my hips, and I always start by pressing the thighs back first. The same action, then I lengthen the tailbone down. Now, as I start to come forward, making sure my knees are not locked, I'm keeping this container-like feeling in my body. I'm not letting my ribs flare, but I'm grounding the thighs back so that I can move and hinge from my hips, keeping the spine long, hands on the hips as long as you can, to avoid transferring all the weight to the hands. Keep the work in the legs and the core all the way down. Now I've got my core super strong and engaged. I can just use it to come right back up. Okay? So just knowing that when you come into your forward fold, here, let's do it together. So place your blocks there and take your feet wide and parallel. It's also important to know what your tendency is, right? Do you tend to round more and come forward from more of a bending of the back, right? Maybe the hamstrings are tight, maybe it's hard to find that action. Or are you very hypermobile, very flexible, and do you tend to just, collapse into it and give away all your power? So first thing is we have to know what tendency we have, and then we can start to work from there. My tendency is to overdo, right? I've got this flexibility, but I have had to work so hard to support that flexibility with strength. So the strength is very important to move through these postures safely and to protect our joints in the long run. Okay, so hands on the hips, feet parallel, roll your shoulders back. Now, start by pressing your thighs back and lengthen your tailbone. Make sure your knees are not locking as you start to come forward, hinging from the hips, keeping the chest open. Leave your hands on your hips right now for as long as you can. Not letting your ribs flare, so keep softening those front ribs back in. Open your chest, now find your blocks. Lift your chest and make sure you're not leaning on your blocks. You didn't just transfer all that weight to the hands, right? The weight stayed in the legs. Now, leave the blocks or lower them if you don't need them this high, and keep the focus on the core. Maybe you don't need them, maybe you come all the way down here. If you feel you start to round though in your upper back, use your blocks. Now the last phase, all core strength and leg strength as we press your thighs back and fold all the way over. So a little test, a good test here would be to pick up your hands for a moment and test it. Am I still supporting myself fully as I go deeper from the legs and the core? Now inhale, come back up to your fingertips. Lengthen your spine forward. Now we're going to turn our right toes out and the left toes in. Now I'm going to take my block and I'm going to walk it outside the right ankle. Then I'm going to place the right fingertips on the block, bend the right knee for a side angle pose, and begin to turn the belly and the chest. Left hand goes to the left hip. Now pause here and work on your back leg. So anchor the outer right heel and lift your inner left thigh towards your outer left thigh. So it's not collapsing. Lift it up and then descend more into the front hip. Now turn your belly up, turn your chest, and then glide your left arm alongside your ear. Maybe you don't need the block under your hand. You just place the fingertips on the mat. I'm doing it with the block so you can see what that looks like. Now keep turning your belly and your chest, gazing up. And then we're going to come back into it the same way we came there. So turn your feet parallel. Come back to your wide stance. Inhale, lift your chest, engage your core. Maybe you do a quick test and lift your hands. That's really going to tell you what's happening here. Then stay here or exhale and fold. Inhale, lift up. Let's do the other side. So turn the left toes forward. Walk your left hand around, use the block if you did before, outside the left ankle. Turn the right toes in. Bring your right hand to your right hip. Now work on the back leg. Press the outer edge of the heel down and lift your inner right thigh towards your outer right thigh. So it lifts up rather than collapsing down. Yet at the same time, the front leg is descending. Now turn the belly up, away from your front leg. Turn your chest. Lean back like there's a wall behind you, and then sweep your right arm alongside the ear. Smooth, steady breath. Come back down the same way you came into it. Move the block out to the side. One more time here. Lift the chest. Maybe you test it. Pick up your hands. Exhale and fold. Crown of the head lengthening towards the mat. Inhale. Lift up. Now both hands at the same time go to your hips. Keep that core strong, draw the ribs in, and come on all the way up to stand. Heel toe your feet in. Shake them out. Okay, so a couple more standing poses here. Grab your blocks. You have them there if you need them, so put them on the side of the mat. Okay, not everybody needs them, but if you notice when you put your fingertips down, when you're doing a high lunge, and you really feel like you're having to round your back just to get your hands down, use the blocks, bring the floor up to you, and that's going to allow you to open your chest a lot more freely. Okay, so again, as I said, we use the props as tools, not as crutches. We use it as a tool to assist us to find more freedom, better alignment in the pose. All right, so Tadasana. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, lengthen forward. Now we're going to step our left foot back to a high lunge. With the blocks if you need them. Now you're on your fingertips here, lifting the back inner thigh up as the front hip descends. We're ready for a high lunge, so bring your hands now with your legs super strong to the top of that front thigh. Take the heel of your hand like we did at the beginning and push the top of the thigh bone down into the hamstring towards the mat. But glide your tailbone and lift from your low belly to start to curl back more and more, then sweep the arms alongside your ears. Now hugging in on all sides. Again, feel your body as a container. Lifting the chest without letting the ribs flare out. Exhale your fingertips back down. Now we'll leave the back foot as it is. And you can again use the blocks here if you need. You're going to begin to straighten the front leg. So push the mat away with the ball of your right foot. Lift up to straight arms. Move the outer right hip back And then exhale, begin to fold over your right leg. Again, with or without those blocks. Keep lengthening the belly over the thigh as you come down. The head is the last thing to release. Now we're going to go back to our high lunge once more. Bend the front leg. Fingertips by the toes. Lift the back thigh. And come all the way up. All the way up. Good. Exhale the hands down. Now this time in between sides we'll go through a vinyasa. So plank pose. Lower down. Cobra pose. Release. And back to down dog. Second side, so left foot steps forward between the hands. Stay on your fingertips. Lift the back inner thigh up, open your chest, and descend a little more into the front hip. Now, when you feel ready, lift your hands. So it's that same little test. We should always be able to lift our hands at any point, and that's going to tell you, is my core and my legs truly engaged, or am I just leaning on my hands? It's a very common habit that tends to happen. So now, use the heel of your left hand to press the thigh down. Ground that thigh into the hamstring. Lengthen your tailbone and lift from your low belly. Sweep your arms up. Thinking about your body again as a container, and drawing in on all sides as you curl back. Exhale the fingertips back down. Stay with your legs as they are and begin to straighten the front leg. Push the mat away with the ball of your front foot until that leg is straight. Up on blocks if you need. Lift your chest and lengthen. Exhale and fold. Keep lengthening for as long as you can, and then eventually the head releases last. And inhale, back up to the high lunge. One more time, rebend the front leg. Sit a little deeper, and then come all the way up. Last time, sweep your arms. Exhale the hands down. Take one last vinyasa plank pose. Bhujangasana, cobra pose. And release and press back to downward dog. 3 breaths here. And then come on all the way down and take child's pose. And walking the hands backwards, come on up to sit for a moment. All right, so, getting warm in here. So I didn't go through the actions today for cobra pose, Bhujangasana, but I also have a video of that too, just a short video of those actions. So really worth going back in my channel and taking a look at that, because it's going to change everything for you in your cobra pose. If you tend to kind of bend a bit too much from the neck, or you feel crunching in your lower middle back, these specific core actions will change that completely and give you so much more support and freedom in your back bends. Okay, so check that out. So next thing here, we're going to take Navasana, boat pose. So you'll place your feet flat on your mat, and then you're going to bring your hands to the backs of your knees. Keep your feet down for now and roll your shoulders back. Now, as you roll your shoulders back to open your chest, what tends to happen with those ribs? They want to go forward. They want to go out. So keep drawing your shoulders back, but then it's a very subtle action. Just bring those ribs back in again. So you're not, again, losing your power or flaring the ribs there or leaking the life force. So draw in. Now, once you've got that, now float your feet up and bring your shins parallel to the floor. Think of your body as a container. The chest is lifting, the front ribs softening back in. Our power does not come from trying too hard. Right? Our power comes when we learn the skillful actions. And part of that is actually knowing when to back off and soften a little bit. So now, keep your hands on the backs of your knees or extend your fingertips forward. Draw from your fingertips and plug the arm bones into the shoulder sockets. Now you can keep your knees bent here or push with your feet like there's resistance you're pushing against, and maybe you straighten the legs. Navasana boat pose, lifting the chest up towards your toes, squeezing the legs together, drawing the belly ribs in. If you have a little more core strength, maybe you use it and bring the legs in towards your chest. And then bend the knees, and bring the feet down. Take a moment, take a rest. So we'll either repeat that and just hold it for as long as you can, or we'll take it into Ardha Navasana. Okay, so I'll show you one and then you can decide which one is better for you. So you'll go back to Navasana, either bent knees or straight legs, and you'll extend your arms. Again, you'll either just hold this or you'll start to lengthen your tailbone towards your heels and lower Ardha Navasana. Look towards your belly and hollow the belly back towards your spine. Now inhale and come back to Navasana. Again, exhale, Ardha Navasana. Belly in, ribs in. Inhale, Navasana. Okay, so I won't do too many before you do them, but now you get the picture. So let's do a few of those together. So start off holding the backs of your knees. Roll your shoulders back and lift your chest. Soften the front ribs in and bring your shins parallel to the floor. Extend your arms. Either leave the shins here or push your feet and extend your legs. Now stay and hold this, or go to Ardha Navasana. Lengthen your tailbone towards your heels. Inhale, Navasana. Again, Ardha Navasana. Inhale up, Navasana. Two more, Ardha. Inhale up. One more, exhale, Ardha. Inhale up. Bring your feet down. And take a breath. Okay, so next phase of this, Ubaya Padangusthasana. So I'm going to hold the backs of my knees and again start off going towards Navasana boat pose. This time though, I'm going to take my arms around the outside of my legs and catch hold of the big toes. The legs stay together. Now I'm going to push my big toes into my fingers and work towards straightening the legs. Maybe the legs don't straighten all the way and you do it with bent knees, that's fine. Or maybe they do. And you can work to straighten the legs, pulling on your big toes. And as you pull on the big toes, lift your chest up more towards your toes. Lift your chest up. And breathe there. Then bring it down slowly and rest. Let's do one together. So, Navasana first. Lift the shins. Wrap your arms on the outsides of your legs, not the inside, the outsides, and then catch the big toes. Legs together. Pull on your toes and push your toes into your fingers. So you're pulling and pushing at the same time. And then push the feet as if there's resistance to push against until your legs extend or keeping the knees bent. Now pull on the big toes and lift your chest up. If you have a little extra core strength here, maybe you bend the elbows and draw the legs in a little bit more towards your chest. And then release and bring it down. Take a deep breath. Okay, last one. I'll face you and do it so you can see what it looks like from here. Same thing, Navasana. Catch the big toes. I'll go a little faster. Straighten the legs. This time you're going to open your legs out to the side. Lifting your chest. Lifting your chest, finding that fine line to balance. Right? It's okay if you fall in any direction, forward or back. Try to sit up on your sit bones and lift your chest. Whee! There you go. See, I did that. I went a little too far and came forward. So it's good to work on that. Doesn't matter if you fall, right? Find it again and then bring the legs back together and bring them down. Okay? Let's do one together. So catch hold of the big toes. Lift your shins, straighten your legs. Pull on the toes, open the legs out to the side. Open the legs out to the side, lift your chest. Pull on your big toes, plug the arm bones in, and then bring it back in. And release your feet down. All right, well done everybody. We're going to come down and lay on the back. Grab the block, it's going to go between the top of your inner thighs. So we're going to use all that core strength that we've cultivated now to come up towards a back bend, towards Setu Bandha bridge pose. So as you lay down, bend your knees, feet flat. Place the block and pause again for a moment. Just rest your arms by your sides. Close your eyes here. Take a few deeper, slower breaths. And just allow that space in between the postures for integration. So the postures continue to work long after we've come out of them. So those moments in between the postures are equally valuable, equally important. Now, you have the block between your thighs. So again, first thing first, squeeze the block. Keep the palms turned up. Do a little shrugging action and tuck the shoulders underneath your back. Now, as you squeeze the block, you're going to push the block down. So at this stage, you should feel like your whole spine is arched off the mat. There's no part of your spine on the mat at all, okay? Now, keep pushing that block down. So the action there for the top of the thighs is inward rotation. What often happens in back bends when we don't use this block to assist us is the toes and the knees splay out to the side, and then we get really stuck in our lower back. So the action to release your lower back is inward rotation. So hug in, push the block down. Now start to lengthen your tailbone. Keep lengthening the tailbone. You're going to find there's a moment where you feel your core starting to engage, and then the hips will start to float up. So follow it. Let your pelvis float off the mat, pressing down more through the inner edges of your feet. Now tuck the shoulders underneath and interlace your fingers behind your back. Straighten your arms. Lift your chin away from your chest. And press the block down with your inner thighs and lift your tailbone. Don't let the feet turn out. Don't drop that block. Keep squeezing it and pushing it down. Now, notice the front ribs. Are they flaring? So soften the front ribs in a little bit as you lift your pelvis, lift your tailbone. And notice
Did that give you a little bit more power? It definitely gave me more power when I focused there. And then bring it all the way down slowly. Release your arms and rest. Pause in between. Keep the block there. Close your eyes. And feel. All those sensations buzzing, moving through your body. So you feel more alive, more awake, more embodied. Let's do one more to finish here. So reset, squeeze the block. Arms by your sides, shrug the shoulders underneath. Keep your pelvis down for now and feel that first action before you lift your hips of pushing the block down to arch your lower back. Now the tailbone lengthens and there's that moment where you feel, oh wow, my pelvis is getting light. That's because your core muscles are waking up. So then float the pelvis up, up, up as you push the block down. I know they're opposites, right? The tailbone is going up and the block is going down. Try to find a balance of those two actions together. Shrug and tuck your shoulders and interlace your fingers again. Straighten your arms. Soften your front ribs down. Keep lifting the tailbone and move your chest towards your chin. Press down through your shoulders into your wrists. Push the block down. Push the block down, chin away from the chest. And then come all the way back down slowly. Take the block off to the side. Take your feet as wide as your mat and let your knees, your inner knees, touch together. Just rest your legs, placing your hands onto your belly. And again, just pausing to feel. And when you're ready, you'll straighten your legs. And you can put your blanket under your head for Shavasana. I like to do that. A little more cushioning for the head. Straighten the legs, straighten the arms, and turn the palms up. Slide the shoulder blades a little more snugly underneath your back, and let your thighs become very heavy. Feel your body weight now releasing. Surrendering the control over your body right now. Letting it go. And trusting that your body knows what to do. Trusting that you know what feels right for you. Allowing your practice to be that refuge. This is where you know the truth of who you are. When you take the time to focus on your inner world. It's said that a balanced life, we have 50% of our attention focused on the outer world and 50% focused on the inner world. Well, for most of us, we have pretty much all of our attention on the outer world and very little on the inner. And then we wonder why we get lost and stuck, because we're not tuning in to what's going on within ourselves, finding the inner guidance. So it starts with trusting our body and trusting the different sensations and emotions that move through us. And creating an inner space for everything to flow more freely. So begin as you're ready to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Maybe you turn your head gently from side to side, releasing the neck. Start to roll over to your right side, bending your knees. Taking your time to make your way back up to sit. Sit on something, whether it's your blanket or your block. And once again, grounding the thighs down and lifting up through your spine. And use your hands on the front of your rib cage, and with that help of your hands, just gently soften the ribs in. And feel your body, again, as a container, drawing in on all sides. And then on top of that, softly draw the shoulders back. And bring the hands together at your heart. Lift the heart and bow your head to your heart, taking a moment to honor your inner world. To honor that place within your heart that allows you to remember who you are, uncovering all the layers. And gently lift your head, honoring each other. Namaste. Thank you all so much again for joining me for this practice. It's just such a pleasure. I'm really enjoying sharing these classes with you, and I hope it's helping. Hope it's giving you some good alignment cues. I would absolutely love to hear any comments, any feedback of your experience, anything you'd like to see more of or less of, or yeah, just please leave some comments in the comment section below.
As I mentioned in my other videos, these are donation-based classes, so I'll put my Venmo and PayPal address is at the bottom. So if you are feeling called to or able to donate any amount, that would be greatly appreciated at this time. I look forward to seeing you next week. Rest well, take care of yourselves. Much love. Namaste.